Okay, today we're going to be talking about test number 4, which is an easier test compared to maybe certainly the last two. If you look at the introduction, you are told that one of the adaptations is from a guy named McCabe, and it's called Little Boxes, Big Boxes. May tell you something, maybe not. It was written in 2007, so that means it's a fairly contemporary writing. And the second one was written by a guy named Vespa, and it's called The Garden State Fights Sprawl. If you know what sprawl is, the Garden State would be New Jersey, and that was written in 2011. Maybe that'll come in handy for you, maybe not. All right, passage number 1 talks about problems with urban sprawl, and passage number 2 talks about a solution to problems, something New Jersey did. So as we take a look at the first question, in the first paragraph of passage 1, the author uses the term Anytown, USA, line 1, 2, and your best answer is A. You should recognize when you're reading that Anytown, USA is an indication, it describes the conditions that are commonly found in the United States. So if somebody's going to talk about Anytime, USA, they are talking about the typical United States town, if there is such a thing. For number 2, in the context of passage 1, and this is even a hard word to pronounce, concomitant, and boy, I just butchered that. You can see what it is. I can't pronounce it. What does that word mean? Well, that's a good question. If you find it in number 11, it's not a word that I was familiar with, honestly. But when you look at it in context, your best answer is simultaneously. Before the word, they talk about shopping centers being generally comfortable, but then they talk about it being a disservice afterwards. So what you have is a transition word between those two ideas. The one that works best is simultaneously. It is simultaneously a good thing and a bad thing. And of all the words there, that was the one that's going to show the contrast between what's before and what's after. And you could plug that word in, and the sentence makes complete sense. For question number 3, the first sentence in the final paragraph of passage 1, and they direct you to lines 36 to 39, serves to, and your best answer is A. Clarify the extent to which the author believes suburbs are a problem. Clearly this passage indicates that the writer thinks that it's a problem, and here he clarifies it. In B, C, and D, these may be touched upon here and there, but they are not covered in line 36 through 39, and that's what you needed to focus on. For number 4, as used in line 39, pervasive most nearly means, and again, this is a vocabulary question, it means widespread. If you find where pervasive is in line 39, if you replaced pervasive with widespread, the sentence means exactly the same thing. It's the only word that you could put in there and keep the same meaning. It is pretty much an exact synonym. For number 5, the author of passage 1 asserts that to some degree, suburban sprawl is responsible for, and in passage 1, it really is the point that the whole passage is making, that there is an increase in conformity. Variation disappears. Distinctiveness disappears. All the houses start looking alike. That is the point of the passage. The others, they might dance around the issue, but B is far and away your best answer. There is really no one place that you're going to find number 5. You had to have a sense of what the whole passage was about. Which of the following relationships, for number 6, is most similar to that between the government of New Jersey and the suburban sprawl legislation as described in passage 2. So in passage 2, the state of New Jersey is trying to deal with urban sprawl. That's what the whole thing is about. It's actually a solution to the problem that was laid out in passage 1, at least the solution of one state. And the best one is B, a homeowner protecting using a fence to keep out destructive animals. It's an analogy. If you were to decide that the homeowner is the state government of New Jersey, and they are trying to prevent sprawl, they're trying to prevent the spreading of those who promote sprawl, would be the destructive animals. So that's the analogy that works best. The other three do not really work in the context of this. All right, number 7. According to passage 2, finally going to talk about passage 2, all of the following statements about the garden state are true except. We could go and we could look, and B, C, and D are stated in different places. For A is not stated at all. In fact, on lines 64 and 65, it is the opposite is stated. It was a statewide referendum that brought this about. In other words, the voters said, yes, let's do this. Let's take money and let's buy land, and the state will own it, and then we won't have urban sprawl. We'll keep our wilderness. So it was not the governor who authorized the purchase, it was the people. Line 64 and 65 completely disputes A. For number 8, the author of passage 1 and the author of passage 2 are similar in that both, and there are some cases where you can find a similarity. Your best answer is B. They both agree that suburban sprawl has a negative impact on the aesthetics of an area. In line 23 through 25, identical looking prefabricated houses have robbed us of 100 years of original and beautiful home design. Simple, efficient construction has trumped all. That's what the first guy says. The second guy says, we must concede that sprawl does contract from the beauty of the landscape. He says that on line 50 and 51. Those two are making the same point. Your best answer is B. For A, neither of them say that. It's a very extreme statement. C, passage 1 would disagree, and D, passage 2 would disagree. So your best answer for 8 is B. For number 9, what would the author of passage 2 most likely say about the arguments posed in the 3rd paragraph of passage 1? The difference between passage 2 and passage 1 is the degree. Passage 1, the writer seems to be a gloom and doomer. He really hates the idea of urban sprawl. Passage 2 is a little bit less militant. And the answer for 9 that works best is D. And if you look over at passage 2, lines 49, it says, while many of these complaints border on the histrionic, that is, the hysterical, people who are over the top. If you don't know what histrionic means, that can be a little bit of an issue for you, but that's where you get the indication that they indicate, in their opinion, for the writer of passage 2, some people are overstating the problem, some people are getting hysterical about the problem. All right, for number 10. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? And I just pointed you out in that area, 49 and 50. If you look down there, that puts you right in the realm of area A, lines 48 through 52. Now, if you're trying to answer a question like number 9, and you're not really able to find the answer, sometimes if you look ahead and you see, there are 4 places where 10 directs you to go to. And if you went to those places and glanced kind of quickly, you might find the answer to number 9 that had been eluding you. I mean, that's just a test-taking trick. But once you've got number 9 right, D, your answer that goes along with it is A for number 10. And for number 11, again, there is no single place that we can look. Which best describes the relationship between passage 1 and passage 2? Again, they're a little bit different. Passage 1, the guy is certainly more militant. He sounds more gloom and doom about the nature of urban sprawl and what it's doing. Passage 2, he recognizes there's a little bit of a problem, but he's certainly not as hysterical about it as passage 1 is. So which one best describes the relationship? It would be C. Passage 2 describes one solution to a problem, and it's a solution to the problem that is described in passage 1. It's one solution, it's the solution of New Jersey. Hope you did well. This one's a little bit easier than the last couple we've had. Keep up the good work. Plan to get back to some classes who are doing really well and reward them in some way or another. So good luck next week.